Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
You can make it on your own.
Here with me at home. Oh yeah.
Oh, so good. You know what else was good was this episode.
Yes.
Wasn't the best one of the season, but I think it's leading us into something really good.
Solid.
Yeah.
You just tuned in to the AfterBuzz TV show recap for Shades of Blue. This is episode number 8 for the season, right?
8.
We're on 8 already. God,
Moving fast.
can you believe that? We're getting a little bit of a downhill slope for this episode, I think, because it's really leading us into something good for the next episode. You do get those from time to time because they can't have all of them action-packed. You might not get everything in there. So I think the next episode is going to be really good, but before we start, let's just refresh on who we are. We are your hosts for this AfterBuzz recap show. I'm your host, Brandon Marlo, and I'm joined by my co-host, Samantha Benitz.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha_Benitz.
Miaira Jennings.
Hey everybody, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miaira Jennings.
And Jaye Green.
Hey y'all, Jaye Green on all social media, Jaye.
And you can find me at BAMARLO on Instagram and Twitter. And now you know who we are, but let's recap for the last episode because a lot happened last episode. This one, not quite as much, so let's just make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, a lot did happen last week. Well, first, Saperstein survived that fall. I don't know how, but he did.
Like a sack of potatoes, he hit the ground.
Exactly, and he was still breathing, so kudos to Sap. He's fighting for his life in the emergency room, obviously, or in ICU, and Harlee actually confronts Waz about the situation. She wants to know, did you do it? Did you kill him? And he finally admits that he had to do what he had to do. Because, that's what Waz does. Special Agent Baker actually went to a meeting with Internal Affairs.
And just so everyone knows, Special Agent Baker is who?
Gail. Right? She's like the head honcho.
boss.
Yeah, for sure. So she goes to this meeting, which leads Waz to believe that Saperstein really was working with the Fed, so they think that the rat has been killed. Little does he know he's not right. Then Stahl and Chen visit Cepeda to talk about Harlee and Kovac, and Stahl is trying to piece together the situation with Miguel Cepeda and how he ties into Harlee and what other corruption Waz is doing, so that's a whole nother thing. They're going down this whole nother road there. And after leaving the hospital, Tufo heads to Saperstein's house because he can't believe that his friend would sell all of them out to the feds, and he finds some papers, some immunity papers, right? So that leads him to believe that his bestie was really the rat. And that basically leads to Waz deciding to finish off Sap, which is so sad. In the end, Saperstein is dead. Waz basically plants these explosives as a diversion, and he goes in and finishes him.
Shoots
I don't know. What did he do exactly?
He puts a little air into his IV.
Right,
is what
yeah.
it looked like.
Yeah. Something.
And Harlee happens to be a minute too late. She's rushing in there. She's in the car with Stahl, kind of dialoguing about Miguel Cepeda, what Waz's relationship is to the whole situation, and she realizes when she sees the chaos outside that something's happening and that there's a bomb threat, which we all know that she knows about the bombs that Waz is now in control of. So she rushes in to try and save Sap, and it doesn't go well, which is just it was really heartbreaking because you saw him just trying to make things right, and he really took the brunt of everything that's happening with Harlee. So it's a sad thing, but it is getting. I mean, he had to go. Someone had to die.
No.
And if it wasn't Loman, it was going to be sad. So, but it really did. It set this. I think it's setting it, the rest of the season up to be really intense because as we said, this episode not quite as much happening, but they did touch on a lot of things that happened in the last episode. Yeah. Some of the people who watched the AfterBuzz recap show, they had some things to say, and one YouTube comment in particular stuck out to me because I wasn't here last week. And she said that she had a differing opinion than you, Miss Erica Jaye Green.
Did she?
Mm-hmm.
No, mine says she was in total agreement with the lead host.
Oh, that's
which
right.
was me.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you trying to get
She was in agreement with you. That's right.
She said, if my best friend was accused of betraying me and is lying in the hospital clinging to his life, the last thing, in emphasis, that I'm doing is searching for evidence to prove his guilt. They would truly destroy themselves from the inside. Yeah, well, she pretty much summed it up. That's what they're doing. We're seeing it with each and every one of them. We're seeing it with Harlee in this episode. She finally, I don't know, I'm like, Harlee, are you serious? You're really just now realizing that
Starting
you're
to
the
feel
one?
bad, yeah.
Right.
I was like, you're
Get
kidding
everybody
me.
killed.
I'm sorry, I'm so over her right now.
All right, so Teresa agrees with you, but I remember who disagreed, and that was me. I remember that was me.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
And I think that if it were my best friend, I would want to rule everything out. So when I went to whoever was questioning them, I could say, I've been diligent in trying to find whatever information I could on this. There's nothing that can be found that would conclude that he or she is the rat. So
But at that moment with their friend in the hospital,
he
fighting
waited a little
for his
while.
life.
He had a
Come
cup of
on
coffee.
now. That's different.
I mean, Waz did tell them they all had to leave. And that's when he went to look for the paperwork. So it wasn't just him leaving the hospital to find it of his own accord. Waz kind of pushed them out, said, everyone go home, get some rest. And that's when Tufo decided to go and look for the paperwork. And I think
That's true.
it was probably more rational for him than anything, because he's tearing that room up. And he didn't find until the last little bit of that scene. And even then, I would have been looking, was it signed? Did anyone else think that?
Like, where did it come from?
Yeah, we
were thinking, was it planted?
It was.
Because we don't okay, so it was. Because we didn't
heard
see it.
Saul talking to Gail about, I need it backdated. And they said that it was from 2 weeks prior.
Oh.
So,
Okay, I
so
didn't
it's little
catch
things like that. When he was in the office
Wow.
saying, I need that immunity contract drawn up, but I need it post-dated. And then they plant it in the house, which sets him up, obviously, for even more allegations.
Wow.
But I would have been looking at, the first thing I would have looked at is it signed? Because he could have that contract, but if he didn't sign it,
Exactly.
and the fact that he still had it, meant that, to me, I would have thought, he's reflecting on this. Should I do this? Should I sell out my crew?
Exactly.
And it's under a rug. So I think that could have been written a little bit differently. I think it was kind of a snap judgment, which you saw they all had to reflect on. I mean, even Waz, right?
Oh yeah, you can just see that they just made that decision kind of in the spur of the moment, and they all are so quick to distrust each other. Like, it bothers me. I'm like, oh geez, nobody trusts anybody, even their closest friends. And the fact that Waz even went into the hospital room and told Saperstein on his deathbed, like, I'm going to kill you a second time, and you just saw his heartbeat race. You're like, this poor man has gone through it enough.
Right.
Leave me alone, please.
Yes, and it was just such a tragedy. So on top of what already happened to him, just seeing him, be conscious during that moment, I was like, oh, poor guy, just wrong place at the wrong time. But I felt like he did have an inclination, especially since his mom kind of said, I did a few bad things this episode, when he had that conversation with her previously.
Right, yeah.
And so
that was interesting.
it seemed like he kind of had an inclination that he may be in danger soon.
Now looking back, do either of you have a differing opinion? Because you said that you thought you wouldn't be checking up. You would have left it well enough alone and just assumed that he was innocent. And now seeing what we see this episode and kind of how everything turns out, because there's a lot of conflict with the crew now. I mean, Tess and Harlee are at each other, Waz and Harlee. Would you still have stayed back and let things play out, or would you have done a little bit of research?
I mean, I would have done the research after I would have known that my close friend, supposedly that was supposed to be one of his closest friends, was okay, like was out of that rough patch zone.
Right.
To me, it was just a little iffy. You're kind of tricking the mom. The mom's already dealing with enough right now. If he was really doing it from good intentions, but that's not why he was doing it. They were looking for it to still find out who was the rat, who's y'all are up to no good. You
All of
deserve to be
them.
caught. So I don't know. It's just, but
They can't wait. I mean, they got to cover their tracks. They can't wait for somebody to be healthy and well again. So, I mean, if I were a corrupt cop, which I'm not, I would have done the same thing.
Gone down that same route.
But what an alibi it would be if you were on here discussing corrupt cops.
I was like, why are you not?
I know, and even on a sadder matter, it's like Waz told Tufo, just tell Sap's mom that he died a hero saving a kid. So she's just going to have this false illusion in her head about, this is how my son died, a proud man, not knowing that he was totally just ripped of any dignity and just pushed off the ledge.
And just going off of that really quick, one thing that I wanted to mention last week, but I completely forgot, when Saperstein's mom was talking to Waz in the hospital, and she was saying, you know, he stopped going to temple when he started working for you.
Oh, good point.
I took that as like he started going down a different path, and Waz was like his leader, and he was looking up to maybe the wrong role model. And, you know,
That's
truth be
what
told,
happens,
he's the one who offed him. So, you know,
That's
never know
actually,
who to trust.
It's touched on again this episode because Harlee then makes some very bold statements when she's arguing with Waz about him being a false god and all of those. I don't know if that was her exact verbiage, but she said more or less that you have these disciples that are following you now.
Right.
And you want to play God, right?
Right, for you to kind of decide their fate, which, as we've seen, is not always the best for them.
But she would have the nerves to say that when actually she's the one deciding the fate. She could have prevented Sap from dying.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know if that realization has really sunk into her. Like, honestly, through this whole episode, I'm just like, I'm so over Harlee. I'm so over Harlee. Like, really?
At
Like,
the end of the episode, though, I think since she went...
But what are we, 8 episodes
in, yeah.
I know.
It's been a while. Now her conscience is eating at her and she needs to do
plays
something.
the
And she's
victim.
afraid.
I'm sorry. Harlee plays the
I
victim,
agree with
and
you
I'm
to an
sick of it.
extent, because I think she's still trying to convince herself that she's a good person, and at the end of the day,
Don't we
she's,
all?
you know, she's trying to give herself a reason for why she's doing all this. If she doesn't have a reason, she's just a bad person. So that's what's separating her from Waz in her mind, is that her intentions are good and Waz's are selfish.
As soon as the first person, someone that got killed, that's when I'm done with this game.
Yeah,
this
I'm
is
with you.
over.
Right.
You know, I'm helping y'all. Let's close this down. I'm done. People
Right.
are dying.
This is
now.
going too
This
far,
is getting
yeah.
serious. People are dying.
Okay, now I have to say that, as we've mentioned a couple of times, this wasn't really that episode for that. We see that the next episode, it looks like that's what she's going to do. If anyone watched the preview out there, look it up, because if you don't see what's coming next week, it looks like there's a lot happening internally for her, that she is ready to sell Waz out. And this episode, I think that having that in response to his death, I think too much would have happened this episode, and it kind of would have overshadowed the sacrifice that he made, because he was really trying to make things right, something that he had no idea was even going on, and help everyone. And I think them doing it this way is strategically setting them up for the next few episodes, because you see that she does have the entire season. She has this confliction with what she thinks she should be doing, really trying to make it easier for everyone, not sell anyone out, and just get Waz.
Right.
And it's appearing to be much harder than that, because everyone is so closely tied to him, and we've talked about why he's kind of collected these group of people, and it's because every one of them have something different. So maybe it's that Sap was looking for someone else to look up to, didn't want to go to temple anymore, found this man that he felt like was leading him somewhere that he could believe in, wrong. And the same thing with Harlee. I mean, he's tried to help her, and she's really believed in him, and so I think we're going to see a little bit more of that from Tess, and how he got her in Tufo. So I wouldn't write her off so quickly, but I understand what you're saying. It's a little bit like, how many times can we see this story unfold? But I think the next season, or the next episode for the season, is going to be one that changes everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Even,
I like it.
Yeah, go ahead.
even her relationship with Stahl this episode. I'm sorry, I'm just like, this episode,
I'm so happy
it wasn't
they're
as
having a
eventful,
little- yeah.
but there was a lot of kind of
Tension, is that what
progression in certain ways, and her going to Stahl and kind of telling her very honestly about her relationship with Cepeda, and then showing up in the end to say that she was gonna sell Waz out. Right? That was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was building up this entire time, but I was always thinking she doesn't have an allegiance to Stahl, and she really does not like him. But I think at this point, after seeing Saperstein die as like an innocent man, it really got to her, and she feels like, if I got into this industry to be a good person and to, you know, stand for justice, then what am I doing now? Now this is completely, you know, out of the loop, and I need to really get a grip on my actions and myself. And I've got a daughter now involved who's starting to lie to me furthermore, so it's like her actions are going to rub off not only on the precinct but on her family. So and to add to what you were saying earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if Waz had dirty secrets with them all. Like maybe Tufo had done something in the past, maybe Tess has done something, and he kind of knows a little something that keeps them all
Loyal.
you know, under his
He'd
care.
have to.
Yeah.
Like the puppet strings, you know? So I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it's interesting she wants to now go trust Stahl when he's presented himself to be the most untrustworthy.
Yep.
He did not go search out her friend. I can't think of his name right now. The lawyer who's covering the
ADA?
Oh,
yeah,
ADA,
the
Nava.
Nava.
Yeah.
To have assistance with that case.
No.
He did that strictly to put a little, he
Heat
threw
on
some
it.
shade. That's what he was doing, throwing some shade. I'm just like, Stahl, your head is not in the game. Like, what's his end game with
That
this?
man's obsessed.
Yeah.
Like, that's creepy, Like
I hope
everything
that
we've seen
develops
from
more,
him.
because
Yeah.
he's a creep, and I want to see that really blow up.
Yeah.
Because we really don't. I mean, we got a little taste of that prostitute, but we didn't get more of
Well,
that.
he got a lot more than a taste.
Yeah, thank you.
He
for that.
sure did.
Oh my goodness.
We knew Brandon.
I'm always there. I will help
Thank
you
you,
guys out
Brandon.
when you don't want to say it.
Always got us. But yeah, so I would love to see, more of that and his creepiness as far as that goes.
I
Yeah.
know. Ryan Seacrest was live tweeting and he wrote, Stahl really nailed the Matrix look today. I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of saw that with the shades and everything early in the episode. I'm like, all right,
No.
he's doing that.
That man.
Okay, so this episode we've kind of been talking about already, but this episode, it started off with the morning of Stahl. More or less, that's kind of, where we, what the initiation was for this episode. And it was kind of short-lived. There was a lot of tension between everyone, but I don't feel like it got discussed a lot between everyone. There was the initial kind of back and forth with the crew and the. Do they hang out in a meat locker? What is that?
I was
thing
going
that
to ask the same question. Where
they
are
hang
they?
out in.
Yeah,
but
like
every
a
time.
secretive little shack.
So they're talking about that there, and then it kind of just dies off, and then everyone, I think the stages of grieving start taking place because some people are mad, some people are sad, some people are just avoiding it altogether, and through that we see a lot starting to unfold with them morally, because you see a lot of tension between Harlee and Tess because of that situation with Christina, and then that kind of triggers the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
So with Manny, her boyfriend,
Yeah.
another cop brutality situation they're bringing in here, but it does end differently than I had anticipated. What did you guys think of how they introduced him and kind of how the rest of the cops were going to interact?
I just think I thought it was very interesting they chose to put that in there to show us, like, dang, cops can get away with murder, and how they had to be the justice against some other crooked cops when they're essentially the crooked cops as well. But still, like, this was an opportunity that they could have taken to do it the right way.
By the book
And we
for
see
once.
them
yeah.
again, and then bringing Loman in there. We all know he
Poor
has no
Loman.
business. He threw that punch. Was like,
trying
oh,
along.
my hand. It's like, Loman, come on, Loman, get
But
out of
also,
here.
it was interesting to see the dynamic between Waz's crew, and then when they go to confront,
other
the
precinct,
leader of the whatever patrol
precinct,
leader, I don't know, and he's protecting his nephew, which was one of the cops that beat Christina's
Yeah.
boyfriend. So it's like, it's interesting to see that juxtaposition between this crew, and Waz is the leader and he's protecting all of his children, but so is this other guy. So I mean, they're both in the wrong, but you can't really put more blame on one of them because they're both doing the same thing. He's trying to protect his crew, and Waz is trying to protect his. So
Totally.
My favorite thing about this series that I'm coming to find is that it really makes you critique what you believe is right and wrong.
Oh, totally.
I know.
And there's so much of that with everything in society now, where everyone has an opinion, and everyone's opinion is public, and you can't really say if someone's opinion is right or wrong because they're just all different, and some of them in just very small ways. And what we're seeing now is that Loman's idea of justice is Loman's idea of justice, and Harlee's idea of justice is Harlee's idea of justice, because we see that he's willing to attack these two cops where she may not have chose that, but she walks up and says, this is our justice.
Did you see she wasn't even surprised though? She came
No.
around the corner.
But
couldn't
she
care
did
less.
say Loman shouldn't
like,
be
of
here.
course.
She's trying to protect his
Soul.
She's kind of
morality.
keeping him on
Totally.
his moral compass pointing
Yeah.
north, like keeping him
Yes.
in the right direction. But it is interesting because we get so much of that now, where everyone wants to say what they think is right and wrong. And for this series, we don't get a solid,
Right,
this
like
is
cut and
right,
dry.
this
Yeah.
is wrong. We get everyone, and we get to see how it clashes, because you see Tess trying to help Harlee with the Christina situation, where she doesn't think that's appropriate, and she wants to handle her own daughter's situations, which I think that there's just some again, emotion there from Sap dying, and I just love that every episode I get to sit back and think, like, would I have done that way, or is this justice, these two cops just getting beaten in the alley, or would it have been better for them to be booked for assault?
Right. I know. It was so interesting that Harlee said that, you know, when a dirty cop is involved, allegedly, it becomes a political statement. So I'm thinking, you know, that's definitely true. But furthermore, Waz said families protect their own, which is, you know, everything in this series. And it reminded me of just even how Harlee treats Christina, and seeing that video of her daughter being involved in, like, smoking pot there with her boyfriend. It seems kind of innocent, but I also understood where she thought, you know, you're going to be applying to college, you're going to be needing jobs in the future, you need to be very cautious of your actions. So there's almost like a thought progression as to why they would do it the wrong way. But at this point, Harlee needs to watch every step she's doing because she's being followed, and furthermore, like, they are just definitely under some heat at this moment. They are being watched. So
what did you guys think of that moment when Tess kind of, you know, when Harlee was talking about Saperstein's situation, she's like, well, what if it were you? What if they threatened to take away your kid? And Tess was like,
I'm not weak.
I wouldn't be that weak. They wouldn't come after me. What did you guys think about that? Because you kind of see Harlee like, okay.
I think it's foretelling of what's going to come, and I think the FBI is going to target every person until it starts to work out in their favor. That I think that they're going to start going after now Tess, maybe Tufo. I think they're going to find those reasons why Waz has them in his control. And let me just say that last week when I made my prediction, I was right. I said he was going to try and do something to Sap in the hospital.
Oh yeah,
and he did.
Oh yeah.
And so hopefully I will be two. Hopefully I will be two. Hopefully I will be 2 for 2. But I mean, it seems like the only logical explanation, because she makes that statement. And we don't really know what she has to lose. So it'd be really interesting if they did, if Stahl targets her and then she doesn't have an option.
Exactly. Because, I mean, I'm sure they all think they would never do it. They would never rat out the crew. But you never know unless it's you and you have something at stake. So
I think if they threaten Tess, like, putting her away, and then they're going to be like, Joe's going to be left alone, and who's Joe going to be accompanied by, you know? Like, maybe that's what all that foreshadowing was about.
I wouldn't want Joe left alone. I'd say, these are their names, this is where they live. And this is what they're doing.
Exactly.
I'm going to stay at home with Joe. You guys handle everything else.
We know, Brandon.
Joe,
probably Tufo.
Joe,
knowing you.
God bless him.
Not Stahl.
Not Stahl. Put me away for Stahl. That life I'm not going to save. But okay, so there was, speaking of Stahl, there was a lot happening with Stahl this episode. He kind of put himself everywhere he could. But he did have a redeeming factor that when he finally found out why Harlee is involved in the Miguel Zepeda case, thank you so much, that he backed off of that. And so she had to have a very, like, candid conversation where, you haven't seen me at the bottom of the stairs, you haven't seen me bruised, you haven't, you know, heard me praying that my baby's still alive. And I think that was the only moment for this season that we've seen of him that he seems like a human being, that he has real emotion towards her, and that he is not trying to just make everything harder on her. Minus the Nava situation. But really, what did you guys think of that? Are we going to see more of this? More of a relationship with them, or what?
With Stahl and Harlee?
Hopefully not.
I don't know. I think she's going to start to trust Stahl just because he's going to be the only one who can actually save her at the end of this. And I just thought it was more interesting that Stahl went to Nava. I feel like he knows he's a threat as far as Harlee's very interested. And as soon as he told Nava, you can just see even by the conversation that Harlee and Nava had that he was just distraught and heartbroken that he was being used just to, you know, protect Harlee and furthermore keep Miguel Zepeda locked away in prison. So that must not feel good after being hot and heavy with her.
Do you guys really think that Stahl meant what he said when he said he would, if Harlee officially helps him, you know, snag Waz, that he would really let go of the Miguel Zepeda case? I don't know.
I think
maybe not Miguel Zepeda, but I think he would keep Harlee out of prison.
Well,
I don't know.
It's conflicting for me because they're doing all this saying that they're the good guys. Stahl's saying that they're the good guys now, and they're, like, you know, trying to make things right amongst their precinct. And I'm just like, all the stuff that all the rules y'all are breaking now. You're going to keep an innocent man in jail just so you can, you know, get a booty call later. Like, I'm just like, where at the end of this, every side is going to be in trouble. So, and it makes me go back to, like, her video at the first episode, which kind of seems like a confession. And she looked a little tasseled. So it's like, so just going to go down.
Yeah, she might be giving up soon.
I know, and crazy that Waz told Harlee about the money that he's been using to pay off that witness for 10 years, $1,000 every other month. We added it up to $60,000 total, so that's not chump change.
Not
So
too bad.
he's been doing
Yeah.
shady stuff on the side to pay for her, so he does protect her. So I can see that like loyalty thing there once again. Like, oof, this guy has helped me for so many years, paying off my debts without me even knowing. But now I'm gonna need to turn on him because he's a murderer. Yep. Bye, Felicia.
Well, that's the straw that broke her back, and I don't think she's wrong. I think that through this season we've seen her try to figure out why he does the things he does, and if it's really helping or hurting the crew. And I think with the death of Sap, she realized nothing is worth, no amount of money is worth losing our friends and what we call our family. So for her, I understand why she's going to do what she's going to do, and we don't know how it'll turn out, but we see in the preview for the next episode that she is willing to sell Waz out. She says, get me a wire, I'll wear it, and she's gonna try and get some knowledge on what he has going on, and I'm kind of anxious to see where that goes, because it seems like it would wrap too quickly if she finds out what's going on and you see him and Chen there watching. Now I would think if it was really going down, if this was kind of the final moment where we're gonna get Waz, there'd be a whole team there waiting. So I think this is only a small little portion of what's
that makes sense.
what's to come.
I wonder what's in that trunk though.
I know. I was thinking explosives.
I think a dead body.
Oh.
Okay, since we all have a guess, let's go ahead and get into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, let's start with the trunk. What does everyone think is in the trunk?
It's definitely a body, but I don't know who.
Yep, that's my same prediction. I think it's a body.
Kovac maybe? He said he doesn't want it.
What happened to him? He's
I
dead.
know, he's dead, but maybe just
That
a
is
dead
alright.
body. Yeah, like we know that you did this, so
Oh.
maybe something along those lines, or explosives. It's something he doesn't want.
His
so I'm
face
like,
was in fear.
yeah.
The look
he was
on
like,
his face.
oh Lord.
Maybe it's something to do with his daughter.
Ooh,
Or
yeah.
maybe, yeah.
It's,
We
they
didn't get
always
much
just
of
throw
that.
us stuff and then take it back.
Yeah.
Throw it again. And then take it back. So, and I'm still trying to see how people tie in. Like, I thought Loman was going to be way bigger part. You know, I was really rooting for him. But
There's still
he's still
5
not
episodes
really.
He might kill everybody and then.
I'm sick of this. That would be interesting.
Well, I guess I'll say, I think we're going to see more Loman. I think that
Yeah.
this episode was a
Yeah.
kind of a changing point where now he's realizing everything is not as easy as it may seem. That the type of justice he wants to serve is not always going to be within the strong arm of the law. Like that, there are certain things that you're going to end up doing as a police officer that you may look back on and think, I would have never thought I would do that.
Yeah.
But then we also see that the law protects criminals, is what it really does. It protects those who are guilty until proven innocent, or innocent until proven guilty. So with everyone's innocent, even when you see it, and a lot of times you see that the court system is wrong. So I think that Loman, I think he's going to start playing a bigger part, and it's kind of where.
You've been saying that, Loman.
I think now that now that Sap
sure.
is gone, even Waz says I have a spot to fill. I think that he's going to start picking up a lot of that, a lot of those loose ends.
I agree.
And I think that he's gonna, and I don't think it's gonna benefit him now that he's so alive. I think that he's gonna start to unravel because he's starting to do these things that he thought he wouldn't do.
Yeah,
I know, and
somebody's gotta
interesting
crack.
because they were like, go to the other precinct, be a good cop. But it seems like now that they're pushing him away, he's like, oh, I want to be pulled back in a little. Like, I miss them. They're my family.
Yeah.
They've raised me. So I can see him staying and becoming unjust, possibly. But I don't know.
He
It'll be
already
interesting.
started down that road.
Yeah,
So.
he did a punch today, so he's on the road.
He sure did.
And I'm gonna say I don't think it's a body.
No,
I don't
What do
know
you think
what's,
it is?
I don't know what's in the trunk. It could possibly be a
The
bomb
dog.
because we already have the C4. Probably the dog.
No.
He only has eyes for Waz. No, but I think it possibly is a bomb or some sort of detonation device. Only because we already see the C4 in the other episodes. It would kind of be strange to leave that there, especially because these are the same guys he was working with.
I don't know. He kind of looked like disgusted, I want to say. When he was opening the trunk, like, I don't want
I
this
think
package.
That might have
Right.
faked us out though.
They got to fake us out, so.
Something they're introducing for this next episode I'm really excited about is Pomp.
Yes.
Because we kind of we see him and Waz in the movie theater.
Right.
We only see little bits of his character.
Right.
But this episode we see that, or this coming episode, we see that he is going to be playing a more pivotal role in what's happening with Waz and Harlee's interaction with him, and when she's finally ready to sell him out. So I'm really anticipating seeing that, because
He's pulling the strings.
right,
Yep.
he's essentially the higher Waz. He's the one kind of telling Waz what to
Exactly.
do. And so we think Waz is kind of the HBIC, but we see that might not be true.
Well, in their
That-
relationship, he is.
Right, he sure is telling him who, what, where, when, why. But we see that is actually the case. That he's telling him this is what's going on.
Right.
These are the phone calls I'm gonna make. And then we see them at kind of the final showdown where Harlee has to pull a gun, and it's very tense.
Now, I didn't know Harlee knew about Donnie.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
But it
She
seems
does
like next
say
week she
something, yeah.
does. So maybe I missed it, or maybe she finds out next week. I don't know.
I think we see some of that. I don't think she knows at this point.
Okay.
They've not shown us anything in the episode. If you guys know differently, please comment on YouTube or on Twitter, because I haven't seen anything, but maybe someone has a closer eye where we see the relationship or interaction, but until this point, he's not been in any of their kind of clubhouse meetings or any interaction with the crew. So I'd be surprised if she knew anything, but she's also really close to them. So maybe she's the only one who does know. And then, she's led on to a little bit in the next episode.
How do you guys feel about those cops that were beat, Hollister and the other one? Do you feel like they're going to come forward?
No.
No, I think that was the end of there.
They're scared.
I think they're like the bar bimbo. I think we saw them and they're gone, and they're not going to be introduced to them.
That's that, huh?
I'm interested to see Christina still playing a larger part, because in this episode she kind of stood up to her mom and she was just like, look, I'm gonna get justice if you don't. So I feel like Christina has a strong, she has a really good head on her shoulders, and she's gonna
Maybe she'll share the video.
She might.
that happen,
Yeah, that could be easy.
I really do think she might end up being a more pivotal role than what we might
Well,
think.
Miguel we're still waiting for him to be released, or to show up again. He wasn't in this episode, so it'll be crazy when he is.
Yeah, I'm excited for next week's episode, so it looks really good.
You know what else I'm excited for is J-Lo on American Idol.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys saw this, but she said hell no to Kelly Clarkson.
Wow.
Why'd you say that?
Why? I love Kelly Clarkson. Why should
Let us
we're
know
gonna get into a little
why.
news and gossip, and we will tell you why.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Tell us about Kelly Clarkson, and then I'll get into a little more.
So she was doing an interview, and they asked her if she had any advice for Kelly Clarkson judging American Idol tonight, and she said, hell no. Why would I have to give her advice? She's the first season winner.
Yeah.
She has
She's an amazing songwriter.
She has a ton of
In a
number
good way,
ones.
hell no.
Right, in a good way. Hell
Yeah.
no. Faking you out, just like Shades of Blue does. So I just thought that was interesting and kind of a sweet thing, because she'll be there judging and she's going to be performing tonight. And for Jennifer Lopez to say,
I'm so excited.
what sort of insight could I give her that she doesn't already have? I thought that was cute.
I love Kelly.
I just like when I see Jennifer Lopez in an interview, and she's so blunt and honest, and she doesn't hold back. You really see that Jenny from the block sometimes come out and shine through, right?
You are so right. And I saw in a recent article for the Mirror UK that the Shades of Blue cast calls J-Lo Fembot as her nickname. She admitted that she commutes from her Vegas show to the Shades of Blue set in New York and back to her home in LA, so that's not a short trip. She also said there are moments where it's physically and emotionally taxing, but it goes hand in hand with this type of work. And as far as her research for the role, she admits that she grew up in New York around a lot of cops, and she once dated a cop before. And also, she did say that her twins, Max and Emmy, are her biggest priority, that they are the forefront of her thinking at all the time, even though she does get tired. She is human.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
The twins are so cute.
They are darling. She's
Max and
super
Emmy,
mom.
I think.
She's just super
Yeah,
woman,
that's
super mom,
amazing,
super
yeah.
everything.
I know, and we talk about being tired, and I just think, can you imagine doing those shows and having to go to set, and then having to go home with your
my
kids?
gosh,
It's just a lot all the
that
time.
is a
I'm
packed
tired,
schedule.
like,
Plus
yeah.
American
Talking about
Idol,
it,
you
making
know?
you tired.
Yeah, the 6-hour drive, even from Vegas to California, I'm like, done.
Like that 6-minute drive I made to here from the studio, I was like,
PJs and bedtime, right?
But that's how she keeps her body so tight. I don't know if you guys saw this. We'll post the photo online. But she snapped a picture of herself in some workout gear.
saw that.
And her abs are hard as rock.
The abs are on
6-pack abs.
So you can catch up with those abs on J-Lo's Instagram, and you can catch up with us. Don't forget to watch the past episodes on YouTube for the recap show. Download us on iTunes. Subscribe, rate us. Give us any feedback you have as you do. We will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Brandon Marlo. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BAMARLO.
And I'm Samantha Benitz. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha_Benitz.
I'm Miaira Jennings. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miaira Jennings.
I'm Erica Jaye Green, all social media, Erica Jaye Green. And please mention how nice Brandon looks with his new look.
Yes,
today.
that
He looks amazing,
Stunning.
like a little
Yes.
Ken doll.
You're welcome.
Working that cut.
I did that last. That's why I wasn't here last week. It was a long process. I'm just kidding. Okay, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.